Hello, everyone. My name is Reverend Pamela Dawn, and this is the fourth installment in the Earth Allies series. Again, I hope that you can hear me okay. I am talking as loud as I can as a baby naps. All right. As I said, this is the fourth in a 5-part series that I'm doing to help people reconnect with the earth and heal themselves in the process. So I had an amazing opportunity last night to sit in on a myth salon with the famous Chris Vogler, who is a mythologist and screenwriter, as well as a consultant for the movie industry on the use of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey as a story arc in film. And he is astounding. He has condensed Joseph Campbell's hero's journey into 12 steps. Last night, I got to attend a Zoom meeting where he applied that mythic narrative to what is happening on our planet now. So, unfortunately, the pandemic is influencing a lot of what I have to say here, but the principles that I'm sharing with you are applicable even after this is over. So I just want you to keep that in mind. This isn't pandemic focused, but because of where we're at right now on the planet, it's definitely informing a lot of what I'm talking about here. So that's why I thought it was really important to bring the message from Chris that I heard last night into this fourth presentation for everyone, because I think it's really poignant, and part of it really fits nicely into the Earth Allies series. So he explained that he has condensed the algorithm, which I loved, of the hero's journey to condense Campbell's work, because I guess that it was really complex. I haven't read Hero with a Thousand Faces. I've read a lot of Joseph Campbell's work, but not that specific one, mainly because I've been trying to move away from that heroic narrative. And one of the people who was introducing Chris last night brought up the fact that we need to separate the hero complex from the hero's journey, which I really appreciated. So instead of that egotistical, self-serving hero's complex, that if we look at the hero's journey as being separate from that, that we can reclaim it as something positive, which I really appreciated. So let me get into the 4 steps, the 4 beginning steps of the hero's journey before I launch into the real meat of the Earth Allies process. So the first step is the ordinary world and something that suddenly makes it different. So, for instance, polarities and frictions that are troubling, but everyone is able to cope. Okay, so that's step 1. Then there is a call to adventure. This is where we're at right now with the pandemic. This virus is changing the world, and people have the ability to either answer the call and really do something about it or not. So step 3 is the refusal of the call, and Chris was explaining last night that most people are stuck there right now. There's a lot of conspiracy theories flying around. People are just kind of staying hidden and not really taking it as an opportunity to change their way of being into more positive, ecologically conscious things, that it's just like bury your head in the sand. And as a result of this, time is moving at an incredibly different pace for different people. people who are denying it and dragging their feet, and involved in this conspiracy theory hubbub, it's really slowing down and everything is becoming over exaggerated. Meanwhile, for people like me and Chris and others out there who are trying to make a difference, it's speeding up because there's so much that we have to do. So for those who answer the call, step 4 is the concept of meeting with the mentor. So this is seeking out wisdom. So this is happening on 2 levels. One, an outward seeking of counsel regarding things, and I think that that's why so many of us are stuck on the internet searching for answers from scientists and doctors on what we should do. But then there is seeking wisdom inward, going inward to seek counsel, inner self, conscious, etc. So this is where the Earth Allies process fits in. And meeting a mentor in the hero's journey, as I said, doesn't just have to happen in regards to this pandemic. This is when somebody realizes that they are out of sync and they need help. And I'm not just talking about out of sync ecologically, I'm talking about out of sync mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So this is when the meeting of the mentor happens, and it is my belief that the Earth Allies, that I'm going to explain more about here in a moment, really are that opportunity, are the ability to go and seek out that inner wisdom that is being mirrored in the physical realm. So more on that in a second. Just an interesting little connection on how this, I believe, plays into a larger mythic narrative in the world. And it genuinely fulfilled that for me. It has been over a year now, I think. No, not quite yet. Since I started like this deep work on my dissertation, and once I discovered this piece of the puzzle, it was really like I had met that archetypal wise old man, wise old woman, like a Gandalf type character, but it was a character that was constantly changing. Its archetypes were ever present, and it really provided me and the group of women that I work with a grounding and genuine wisdom. All right, so that's just that piece. If y'all are interested in the rest of these 12 steps of the hero's journey, I will gladly post them probably on my website, where you can find all of this information in one spot, www.revpamela.dawn, like the sun rising.com. And there's an Earth Allies page. It's going to have all the videos in one spot, as well as a place to sign up for future Zoom calls. All right. So I think that this particular video is going to be a little longer because there's a lot to go over here. So back to the work that I started. The Earth Allies process is work that is done on every full moon, and I have designated it as such because the mythic mapping process is one in which somebody follows a set of writing and active imagining prompts over the course of a month. So there are the same themes popping up every month, and the best way that I could link that to natural processes was to link it to the phases of the moon. So the Earth Allies process is done on the full moon kind of arbitrarily, but it does make sense as a lot of wisdom seeking throughout the ages has happened on the full moon. So Going back to explain kind of where this process came from, on the morning of September 9th, 2019, I sat in a beautiful room perched on the edge of the Pacific Ocean at Esalen Institute. Sharon Blackie spoke to her workshop attendees about the concept of calling. She talked of Plato's myth of in which every soul stands before the goddess of necessity, who determines the purpose of that being before it crosses the river of forgetting and is birthed on earth. I love that myth. This is the mythic story of how humans receive their calling. Blackie went on to explain that calling is the sense of the unique thing one brings to the world and has two aspects. One, personal growth, and two, an active contribution to the collective, which should be in balance. It is Sharon Blackie's hope that each soul becomes aware of their growth pattern and chooses to serve the quote-unquote greater becoming. So my impression of that term aligns with Blackie's message with Richard Tarnas's concept of our evolutionary initiation mentioned in the second video. So in the afternoon, Blackie's message then shifted to the concept of place. And this is where it all starts to link into, in mythic mapping, there's an actual map. There's a island called home and place. So this is when my feelers went up and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is something huge. She believes that one's calling shows itself in the geography of place and that one has a responsibility to be in relationship with the place in which they live. The final lesson being that humans must find a way to belong without appropriating from other cultures by finding their own unique way of interacting. I was incredibly moved by Sharon Blackie's matter-of-fact way of communicating and consciousness-raising information. That evening, as I did a meditation on the home and place island of mythic mapping, I was just flooded with ideas that became the groundwork for this Earth Allies process. When I returned home to my small mountain town of Crestline, California, I was excited and nervous to share these ideas with a group of women I was already meeting with on full moons to do spiritual work together. I had been leading them in ritual for years to work with specific ancient goddess myths and felt this new direction may be a bit intimidating. To the contrary, however, they were tremendously excited to start down this new path. Over time, the process has evolved and has settled into the following. All right, during the time before the full moon, one should be aware of the landscape around them. The purpose of this awareness is to choose one Earth ally to communicate with on that full moon. An Earth ally, now this is really important, pay attention, can be any part of the local terrain, including plants, trees, animals, insects, birds, amphibians, reptiles, fish, rocks, geological formations, weather patterns, or physical features of significance, such as parts of the landscape that have a given name. For instance, we have a local outcropping of rocks called the pinnacles, So all of those things are considered allies. Their participant should find a picture of their Earth ally to bring to the gathering. On the full moon, the group gathers together and each person fills out a worksheet. I really like worksheets. So I'm going to show you what that is. I'm going to post a picture file of it for people to use. Please, if you want to use it for something particular, contact me and get permission, as this is part of my dissertation, which is going to be part of a program that I am publishing. So just, be respectful with this material. So it's a longer worksheet when we do it together, but I made it condensed so it was easily printoutable by you at home. So this is going to be the worksheet that is going to be up on the website. So what we've been doing in particular is together as a group, the first thing we do is choose the name of the full moon. So I had devised this system because in different types of almanacs and local folk traditions, the full moon is named according to what is happening in the area at the time. So instead of appropriating and relying on others' ideas of what the name should be that month, I thought it would be a good idea for us to adopt that tradition to reflect our own place in seasonal shifts. And the moons end up working as a categorizing system, which I'll explain more about later. So I then guide the group into an active imagination, which when you sign up for the Zoom conferences I'm going to be doing every month, this will be the process that we will go through. So if you're intimidated by group settings and just want to do this on your own, here are the directions. So you pick the name of your moon. For instance, like we've had snow moon, and this last full moon we chose lone, like lone wolf, lone moon, to kind of really concretize how we were all feeling about the pandemic and all being alone, because we don't meet together in person anymore. We just do it over Messenger. So we've done sickle moon during like Halloween, so you get the point. All right, so I then guide the group into an active imagination. Each person interacts with their own Earth ally using the prompts on the worksheet. So those are, so you write down the ally that you brought forth, and then you take some time to meditate on the archetypal energy of that being. This is really important because that's going to be indicative of how this ally wants to interact with you and the information that they have. So in other words, what role do they fill? The options are mother, father, sister, brother, grandmother, grandfather, trickster, wise elder, warrior, maiden, child, magician, witch, storyteller, teacher, healer, lover, rebel, weaver, destroyer, and beggar. So, and if that doesn't feel right in the ally that you're bringing forth, you can write your own down in a little provided line. So then we go on meditation, the active imagination, where that ally, so some people can visualize things. I personally sometimes can actually see it, like with my eyes closed, like I see that animal or plant or whomever, and we're having a conversation. Sometimes it just doesn't work that way, and I'll just hear something. Sometimes it kind of unravels, like how, you know, a story being told would unravel. So you just kind of hear it in your mind or feel it in your mind. So I encourage people who have a hard time just visualizing things to write as they're having this experience, in case it's more like you're being told a story that you can hear or feel. So then that particular ally appears and as a story, a scene, or just a conversation with them. So that's the first thing that you write down. So then it's, did they tell you what their name was, or have you created one? What is it? Do they care? And what do they have to tell you about this specific time of the year? So as these are done monthly, it's like finding out about what is happening seasonally. So then we move in and out of this meditative state as we answer the questions until we get to the big bold question, which is, how is this ally a reflection of me? And this is incredible because sometimes it isn't at all. And sometimes it's like, whoa, like that's holy mackerel. I can't believe that that's why this particular ally and I are having this conversation. And I just added a new question to the worksheet, which is, what can I do to help this ally in its natural environment? I think I spoke a lot about reciprocity in the first video, and it's really important. So this archetypal energy, ally energy, has come to you. That is why you're doing this work. As a result, there is wisdom and peace and information that you are gathering from this being. And as a result, I feel like it is of the utmost importance to then give back. So this is kind of where the eco-psychological ecology, how you can then help the earth, real peace really comes in. So it's not just about, feeling better about yourself. It's not just about like working your way through trauma, even though all of those things are incredibly important and necessary and the reason why I started this process in the first place. But we also have to help nature. So that is why there is this last question on what can I do to help this ally in its natural environment, because it is our duty as responsible, kind, loving humans to help nature. So not only are you gathering wisdom that can help you, you're finding out something about yourself, but you're also giving back. So it's a 3-part system. All right. So then some fun stuff happens. And it's going to be interesting to do this in a Zoom setting, because the tone of the evening then shifts and we get out craft supplies, and each woman makes an 8x5 card of the earth ally that they brought. And on that card, so that's why I encourage everybody to find a picture ahead of time that they can bring to the group. So the name of the moon and the year is included somewhere on the card. And so descriptions can be found later. So remember how I said that the moon piece was really important? It's because then you can go back, because what I'm going to suggest to everybody is to have a binder where they can keep all of their worksheets, and then a pouch of some sort to keep all of their cards, because as time progresses, you'll see how this system becomes helpful with the cards specifically, which I'm going to go into. All right. So after the card has been made, we make our way back to the worksheet. The new cards that are made are collected and shuffled into the cards we already have, which are all stored together as a set. And this is also going to be interesting. There's going to be some adaptation that needs to occur, because each of you at home are going to have your own sets of cards, which are good because that has to do with your own space and the animals in your own places. What is cool, however, is that we'll be able to talk about them together, which will be nice. So they're shuffled into the deck. Each woman then has a chance to ask a specific question of the whole entire deck. So this is one of those places where people might get turned off a little, but it's the same type of process of asking a tarot card a question, or tarot deck a question, which in my training as a depth psychologist really has nothing to do with like asking spirits for information. It's more being given the opportunity to have a synchronistic experience with your unconscious and the collective unconscious. So I really would like to kind of squash any fears around tarot decks, because this process kind of has the same air about it, but it's all with the unconscious material that has bubbled up as a result of doing work with the natural landscape. I hope that made sense. All right. So each woman then writes down their question. The cards are spread out face down, and each woman chooses a card. So then we do another act of imagination to communicate with the ally that popped up on the card to answer that question. We share our findings, give thanks to the allies that were present for us, and we're finished for that month. So for use specifically with mythic mapping, this process does not have to be done in a group. Likewise, if you are wanting to do the Earth Allies process on your own and not come to the Zoom meetings, perfectly fine. The the kit that I'm building for Mythic Mapping will encourage people to find like-minded people in their tight-knit community where they actually live, in order to have more cards and more feedback, but you don't have to. So let's see. So as I said, this is part of something larger. I don't think I'm going to go into all of the stuff for the other parts of how Earth Allies are used in Mythic Mapping specifically. What I'm going to say here, I guess, is that just doing this process alone will shift things immensely for you. It has shifted things immensely for me. It has created synchronicities in the lives of myself and my fellow group of Earth Allies women who work together every full moon. You don't have to do this process on the full moon. If you start seeing a lot of animals that you want to have these types of conversations with, by all means, like, do it whenever you want. And the more cards you have, the more likely it is for you to get like really in-depth information. I do feel like I should give you an example. I think I went into the example. Yeah, the example is in part 5. And as I'm at almost 27 minutes, I'm going to stop here. So I will put up the worksheet so you can start doing this work at home. If you would like to join me so that you can see how this process is done and then do it on your own, that's also fine. There is, on my website, where all of these videos are going to be listed, a spot for you to put in your email so that when I do start the first Zoom meeting, which I hope will be, well, as we've just passed a full moon, it'll be around this time next month. All right, so 10th or so, in May. Jeez. So if you're interested, you have some time to sign up. I will put up information about that Zoom meeting and when it's going to be happening here in the next couple of days, and come back to watch part 5 to kind of, I tie it all up in a nice little bow and really give the basis for my work in the works of C.G. Jung and Jungian psychology. So it's really fun, and I give an example of going through that process of using a worksheet, and what has bubbled up for one of the women in my group, because it's incredible. So I look forward to hearing from you. I hope you're enjoying this series, and stay safe and healthy.